this tenant was terrible and I'm ready to sell.
Yes, they expired at one time and
Right.
then they renewed and now they're sold. Thank you for the crappy coffee gift card.
I like your air quotes. It's definitely a seller's market.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Hustle Humbly. It's Alyssa and Katie, and we are two top producing realtors in the Baton Rouge market.
We work for two different companies where we should be competitors, but we have chosen community over competition.
The goal of our podcast is to encourage you to find your own way in business.
So stop comparing yourself and start embracing your strengths.
Hi, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
It's episode 132.
Okay.
Jay doesn't like it when I don't say hi to you because apparently a couple of episodes ago I didn't say hi.
Oh.
I know.
Well, we have to remind them our names and who's speaking.
Yeah, we get new listeners all the time and we forget that you're new. You might be new here. And this is Katie.
And Alyssa.
Today's episode is what to do when inventory is low.
It's a tough market right now.
It is tough. Will you hand me the plug to my computer though so we don't die?
Sure.
Whilst we're recording.
Sure.
Because that would be devastating.
Yeah, very sad.
Okay, it's a tough market out there. You requested this topic.
I saw a lot of people talking on the Instagram about it.
On the interwebs?
Yes, about what to do and any ideas, and I'm struggling. And so why not just dedicate an episode to what's going on right now?
I love it. Do you want to start with it from the buyer angle or from the seller angle?
Let's start with when you have the buyer
Okay,
in a low inventory market.
great. You can take the lead on this because I have no notes on the buyer and all of them on the seller.
Well, most of mine, a lot of them can overlap, but for example, I just had an agent in my office that had a buyer looking in a very specific neighborhood,
Okay.
a pretty big neighborhood.
Okay.
She used the Kohl's directory to do a mail out to that neighborhood. I'm sure there's a bunch of other different programs out there. I don't
Okay.
know what y'all's office uses,
I
but
don't know.
you can do a mail out to a specific
Yeah.
neighborhood. And she said, I liked it because it wasn't like, need to sell your house.
Yeah.
It said, I have a buyer looking for a 4-bedroom
In your neighborhood.
in your neighborhood in this price point.
Yeah.
Because that neighborhood had a range depending on everything. So she was very specific.
Mm-hmm.
And she got 4 or 5 people
Who responded?
who responded, which I thought was a lot.
That is a lot.
She showed the houses
Uh-huh.
and then got one as a listing.
And her buyer didn't buy any of them?
I think her buyer bought one of them
Okay.
and then she got one as a listing.
Love it.
Another thing too is that I think if you did that twice,
Right.
it would really stir up more response.
Yeah.
So say none of those worked and your buyer's still looking.
Mm-hmm.
Wait another 30 days and then send
do it
out
again.
another
Yeah.
postcard to the same group that just says, hey, thank you so much to those who responded. My buyer is still looking. Again, this is what they're looking for. But she was getting things to show her buyer as well as getting potential new listings.
Right.
From having a real buyer.
Right.
So I thought that was very interesting.
Well, I think coming with a real buyer is key here. You can't just use it as a tactic.
No, it
you have
needs
to
to- yeah.
actually have a human because if they reach out to you, you better show up with a human
Right.
who is actually looking to buy. Can we back it up a little though? I think number one you want to do when there's low inventory is set appropriate expectations for your buyers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's start from
So-
the beginning.
Let's start before we even, hey, Alyssa, I'm going to buy a house. I'm so excited. My price range is $175. You're going to be like, well,
Let me just tell you.
things might be a little tight. I think that having a real detailed conversation that says, this is how the market is right now. It doesn't, I'm going to give you a story. Are you
Okay,
ready?
I'm ready.
I thought I didn't have buyer notes, but I do. I got a buyer call this week. It was actually a past client of mine who I've worked with several times. It was a relative of his. He called me and said, listen, my sister-in-law is working with this agent that told her that she can't look at houses. She just has to make offers because there's no time in this market to look at houses.
Okay.
And I told her that she needed to talk to you because this sounds crazy. And I'm like, I would agree. So I said, no problem. Give me your number. I'll reach out. I reach out. So I'm like, hey, let's talk it out. Tell me what you need, what's going on in your life, why are you moving? She tells me the whole story. She and her husband are retired. They live 1 hour away from here.
Okay.
Never once did she tell the agent she was working with that she couldn't make it to a showing. They just preemptively told her, oh, you like this house, you're going to have to write an offer right now.
How serious are you?
She could have been here to look at the house in 1 hour.
That's not bad.
It's not a long time. Like, come on. Basically, she was willing to come for the showing and was just told, no showings. We need to just do this. You guys, you can't bully your clients just because the market is busy. You have to find a way to make this work. Just tell them the truth. Listen. So I did. I talked her through it. I said, well, tell me your specifications. And she told me, I'm like, well, yes, that's a pretty hot market. I'm not saying what the agent told you isn't true. There may come a time when a house comes on the market and you're out of town for the day and I'm going to have to do a video tour and we're going to have to make it work and see what we can do because you can't get there. Yes, you're going to have a sense of urgency.
Yes.
Am I telling you don't get to look at houses? No. You can come look at the house.
Right.
Because I'm like, now I know you're retired. You're not that far. There's no reason why you can't get here.
I know.
So I was a little annoyed with the other agent because that's not an appropriate way to treat people. And I picked up a buyer out of it.
Great.
Fine. But also I had to set expectations for her. Look, we're not going to go.
Well, I think we even updated our email templates to explain.
We
Look,
did.
This is how it is. Not only do we have to get to showings quickly, but you also need to already understand your numbers with your lender.
Right.
Once you like a house, now is not the time to say, well, let me email the lender and just double check what closing costs are. Like, no, we know the numbers. We know what the monthly note is. We know what the closing costs are at this price point.
Yeah.
We are confident when we are inside of a house.
And that's how I left it with her. You haven't talked to your lender yet? Like, because they're moving out of a house they lived in for 22 years that's paid off, but they don't want to.
Right.
They don't want to sell first. They want to buy first. Fine. You got to get a loan for that, bridge loan, whatever you're doing, do that first. I need to know exactly what's going to happen with your finances before we start trying to see a house.
And that agent may have been burned a couple of times from doing showings only to find out there was multiple offers on the table or the house. I do advise when I'm the buyer's agent, if it's an hour before, calling or emailing the other agent to say, hey, I'm showing this house at noon.
Right.
I just want to see what the current status is, if there are offers or if you're expecting anything, because nothing is worse than being there and finding out it's no longer available. Like, I wish I would have known you were at least negotiating something. Right. So then we may not have come. So I do think that when you're working with buyers in a low inventory market, you should stay on top of checking the status. You can't rely on the listing agent to communicate with everyone when who knows how many showings they're having.
Agree. So really it's preemptiveness on your part and telling your buyer what's going on. What else do you have for buyers?
I have been doing a lot more video tours.
I think it's good.
We've shared before that I just Amazoned.
Yes, we've shared the
phone stabilizer and lens. I have to sneeze. Not going.
There you go. Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry, YouTube. Sorry, YouTube. Okay.
Okay, carry on. You bought the lens.
I bought the lens that you attach on your phone and the stabilizer, and it really gives the video a good quality, like as if you are walking through it. FaceTiming just doesn't work. It's too narrow. You're like wobbly. But I have had clients in this market make decisions based on the video.
What kind of phone do you have?
I have an iPhone.
Number.
It's for
like it's new, old.
It's like it's not the newest. It's maybe like 1 or 2 ago.
Okay.
But when I do the walkthrough video, it's about 12 minutes per house. And I try to zoom in on the floors and show them if there's scuffs on the wall. Like, I try to really make it anything I would have pointed out if they were
real
here.
Life, yeah.
I point it out. I'm also running comps before we go to a house. It's easy because I'm not showing 10 houses. I have one house.
You have time for that.
I have time to review everything, but really just making sure that once they're there, they're ready if they're ready. Episode
They
92.
need to be ready if they're ready.
Yes. Episode 92 is when we talked about surviving multiple offers.
Yeah, and I think maybe what we're trying to say now is make sure that you've prepared your buyer that that's a high likelihood.
Yes.
If that is for their price, for their criteria.
Right. And so I think reviewing multiple offers, we won't go into that about how to write the best offer and all that because we already talked about that.
But
this
know
is
that.
just more
have some strategy in your back pocket that you can even share with the buyer and say, this is how we're going to handle it.
I also kept it under, so I told one listing agent, I said, look, my client lives out of town. They had multiple offers. I said, they can't get there, so I'm going to go do a video. She said, well, my seller is going to feel more comfortable if they can actually see the house. So I just said, okay, I understand that. And so she never asked again if they ever saw it. But I was trying it made me be more mindful that maybe you don't always need to disclose that you're just doing a video.
Right.
And that the buyer isn't with you.
Right. Just
because
leave it out.
Could hurt you. It could hurt you.
It could hurt you.
She was very concerned about that. Luckily, we did win, and they didn't see it until the home inspection.
And they were okay with it.
They loved it.
Great.
So it was fine.
Because you took a good video.
Yes.
They knew what was going on.
I do think just to try to... So we end every sales meeting on Wednesday in our office by talking about buyer needs and upcoming listings.
Yes.
So that's really helpful. If you're in any kind of group, so we even kind of did it with our leadership group, which is 20 agents from all different offices, where anytime we got together, we would say, what do you have coming up and what do you need? And it just kind of helped us keep an eye out for it. But being able to say, I have a buyer looking for this. And I do think you have to, in this market, have to come up with a more eye-catching way to find what you need. It can't just be
even in our Facebook group, I've stopped reading them.
I know.
Because it's every day, all day is buyer need, buyer need, buyer need. And they, crack down on the coming soon. So it's not like you're getting a first look at anybody's listing coming. You're just hearing buyer needs constantly. And if you're about to take a listing and they have the buyer, you're still probably not going to be that worried about telling them because the open market is better for your seller, right? So what's the point of posting these buyer need, buyer need, buyer needs? Nobody who's got a seller really is going to advise their seller not to go to open market.
I know.
What's the point?
I had a seller recently that I was going to show their house early. And they were like, yeah, that would be fine. You can show it early. But then my buyers did end up finding something. But he said, well, to be honest, we would have, even if your people liked it, we probably would have want to go to the market anyway. I thought, well, that makes sense.
It's fair.
Yeah, it is fair. They want to know.
And you can't be mad about that if you're a buyer's agent. Mm-mm. You're just going to have to get crafty with your offers.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Anything else on buyers?
I did share this story, but I think it applies here, especially having to do with your people calling you. But I have never had this many buyers calling me before that had or have an agent that they are trying to break up with.
Oh, yeah.
Because the agent is not, quote unquote, sending them houses. Mm-hmm. But the problem isn't that the agent isn't sending them houses. It's that the agent isn't communicating.
Right.
The agent has not set the expectations of what the market is, how many houses they should be sending them. That's why it's important to, even if you have no good houses to send them, to say, hey, I'm still looking. I haven't seen anything worth sending you, but they need to hear from you.
Okay.
Because they're going to wonder where you went.
Agree. I have a buyer right now.
Okay.
New buyer. Called me on the phone. I don't know. She found me on the internet. The beautiful interwebs. I don't know. Oh, hot tip side note. I think it's because I've been doing my referrals on Google Business.
And you think you've been getting more
Google calls.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I have this client. She's out of state. Here's the thing. They want to move here. They don't need to be here until school starts next fall. Okay?
Wow.
So July. So we have a long time. And now they have decided they like this one particular street, 3 neighborhoods. Okay? 3 neighborhoods near LSU. There's not a lot. And they go look at this house and they say, okay, well, like the house, but we don't love the house, but we love the neighborhood and we really, 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 really want to be in it. What do you think we should do? Because we don't hate the house. We will make an offer. And this happens to be a house with a challenging floor plan. So it's been on the market a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Okay. So it's not like flying off the shelves. You know what I had to do? I had to actually do the research. I said, okay, 5 houses have been listed in this neighborhood in the last 6 months. So there is a chance that in the next 6 months when you need to buy, you may not. And I said, and the size of all of them is smaller than this house. And I told them all of the data.
They needed to know how to make a decision.
And I said, but if you want to expand out into the search area, the polygon I made you, 42 houses have sold in the last 6 months. So definitely, I would say more houses are going to come on the market. And ultimately, I think they're leaning towards making an offer on this house because they want that neighborhood. And I couldn't tell them with certainty another house was coming.
That's good.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I'm like, here's the odds. What are the odds?
Well, so many agents rely on their opinion. And I think it's important whenever you are talking to a buyer or seller, try to avoid things like saying, in my opinion, this. But you could say, based on the research, based on the data, I think your house needs to be priced this way.
Yeah.
Based on the data, you have a 40% chance that another house would come up in this neighborhood based on the last year.
Right.
Avoid saying, I think, or in my opinion, base it off of facts.
I even told her, I said, look, 5 years ago, I would have told you, it's January. You have till July. Wait it out. Something's coming. You don't love it. You're a cash buyer. It's going to be fine. But I was like, I can't tell you that today. I don't know if it's going to come. And if you're seriously telling me your number one criteria is this neighborhood, then maybe you better be serious about this house.
Yeah. What'd they do?
They're doing a second showing. And I think they're going to write an offer.
Great.
Yeah.
Because they know what the numbers look like.
Right. Okay. Anything else on buyer?
I like that my database is an Excel spreadsheet because I have done this before where I group it by zip code. So if I have a buyer looking in a particular zip code,
oh, yes,
I can categorize the zip code column and then look at all the houses I have ever sold in that area to see, you know, should I reach out to any of these people? Did any of them recently expand their family or have kids go off to college or get a new job? Like, is there something? And then you could reach out and tell them, hey, I don't know if you thought about moving, but I have a buyer. So you could, but that's why I think the database is so important too, just because you can use your own past clients. And again, that's something that you could do for listings. Also, you wouldn't. For buyers, it's good to use the zip code category.
So you're looking at the right
I know
thing.
exactly what I'm looking for. For listings, you could contact everybody in your database.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get to that.
Yeah. So the database is good either way.
Oh, yeah.
But that's really all I have for
buyer.
Yep.
Okay, great. Because all of my notes are how to get inventory.
Okay, good.
All right.
We're going to talk about it as listing, but if you are a buyer's agent, all the things we're about to talk about to get inventory could be for your buyers.
Right.
So it works for
it
either
helps
client.
everyone out. And the other thing that I was reading when I was preparing was, I don't remember the percentage number, but it's a lot. A lot of people are not giving buyer leads appropriate follow-up. And a lot of times those buyers are sellers too.
Yeah.
Why aren't you, like, not everyone's a first-time buyer. So if you're burnout on buyers and you're not following up hardcore with your buyer leads, those people might have been sellers. You might have missed a seller lead. So I thought that was an interesting angle. Hey, Lissa.
Hey, Katie.
Guess what?
What?
We have updated the email templates.
Finally.
Whoa, hallelujah. They are updated and there are more of them.
Yes, we have 10 buyer templates,
Right.
15 seller templates, as well as a checklist for when to send all the emails at what point in the transaction.
Yes, so you don't have to guess when they go. It's very specific. This happened now, then you send this email. So
this is what they need to know.
this is what they need to know right now. Also, there are 6 attachments that go along with some of the seller side. So like move out checklist and showing prep or all that stuff. So there's all the information you will ever need to tell your clients in one of these templates.
Yes, and if you still aren't sure, you can go back and listen to episode 31, where we talk about the importance of the templates and why we use them.
Like, what are we even doing?
So we hope that they help you because they have helped us so much.
Immensely.
And we have gotten so many wondreful reviews about how they have helped others. And so now they are up to date and ready for you.
Yeah, and you can go read reviews and all the information at emailtemplates101.com.
Lovely.
How easy is that? Great. Okay, y'all enjoy.
Bye.
Okay, so how do you drum up new listings? That's what we're going to do. We're going to drum.
Okay.
You know what? We're going to make our own inventory. We're going to
Let's do it.
We're going to make our own luck.
So let's start with the database.
Yeah.
Since we already touched on it.
Okay, so I put on here your sphere, your database, reach out. But
Yes.
what exactly can you do? Here is my favorite tip from my favorite writer, who's not really a writer, but does tons of articles at Inman. His name is Jimmy Burgess.
Okay.
I made you read his article
Yes,
earlier.
I remember.
It was a different article. This article was about getting 11 million in new listings in under 3 months. Now, he is in a beach community, so the price point, it might be kind of high, but even still, let's just say it's 11 listings.
Yeah.
That's a lot of listings. Okay, this is what Jimmy did and does and teaches his agents. The unsolicited, to your database, the unsolicited video CMA. So he makes a market report with a screen grab, okay? So you screen grab your desktop, you go into like the Google, the whole article will walk you straight through it, and he has a video. So I'm not going to get deep into the nuts and bolts of it, but you can go look it up in Inman. But basically, create a video that says, hey, in the last year, the market has really shifted, or the last 2 years, or I wasn't sure when the last time you really looked at your value, but I thought you'd like to know the market update. Here's, zoom in on their house on the Google map, and then you show him the report, your CMA, with whatever's going on in their neighborhood, and then give them like their little range of value. Okay, just thought you'd like to know. Thanks, bye.
Yeah, great.
Bye-bye. Because that, a lot of times not just your sphere, but a lot of times people don't even know what their house is worth. They're not paying attention to it. They don't plan to move. But maybe if they realized they had $100,000 in equity, they'd be like, what?
So I had a past client reach out and say, hey, we are building. So it's going to be about a year before we need to sell our house. But I'm seeing online like certain values and I don't know if they're right.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, can you let me know like if I'm on the right track? And so I did. But she was like, wow. I'm shocked that this is like a reality.
Well, I had a seller who was getting divorced and needed to sell their house. And then I went for a pre-listing like a year ago. Okay. A year ago.
Okay.
Told her a value, told her what to do to get ready. Life happened. She decided not to sell at that time. Went back this past week because now she's ready to sell. The value was like $15,000 to $20,000 higher on a $200,000 house.
Wow.
So before, when she wasn't really walking with anything, she was actually going to get a check. It's huge. Huge.
Yeah. I mean, I just had one where I had just told them I thought we could list for $269,000. And 3 months later, when it was time to list, there were several in like the upper 280s, 290s. And then there was one random one that sold for $310 that was like the same as his.
Wow.
I'm like, if they can do it, we can
Why
try.
can't we?
We
Why
can
can't
try.
we? Yeah. So send those market reports. Even if you did it last year, do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, prices are still good. And not with the icky salesman, prices are going up. Would you like to sell your house? Just simply with hey, the market's just been changing so much. Thought you'd like an update.
I like that.
The end. Okay. Let them come back to you. All right. Are you ready for the next one?
Yes.
We're going to do a full episode on geo farming.
A whole episode.
We're going to put on our overalls.
It's coming up.
So that is another way to drum up listings. And what I mean by geo farming is pick a geographical location, a neighborhood, a zip code, whatever it is, and then try to find listings within that farm. And people have been very successful with this for many years, and they do it super consistently, and we will talk about it coming soon.
Okay.
Okay.
What?
I don't even want to say these.
What?
You can always look at expireds and for sale by owners.
I find this works better if you have a real buyer.
I would imagine so.
I think if you have a buyer looking, searching expireds and for sale by owners is way better than calling to try to get the listing, because Lord knows these sellers are burnt out from hearing from you. Did you read the thing that was like, thanks for the crappy coffee gift card. I'm not going to be listing my house with you. Please, you and tell all your other agent friends to stop writing me letters to my house. But thank you for the crappy coffee gift card.
Tell all your cronies to stop. Okay, I'm so glad you said that. Yeah. I was reading this article that was about the elderly population being harassed in this time.
So sad.
Y'all, I want you to really think about this. You may work at an office that has one of these databases or metadata, grabbing data, blah, 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 blah. A lot of these people who have been in their house over 10 years that the database is telling you to call, they are elderly.
Yeah.
They are happy in their home. They have nowhere else to go, and they don't need to go. They're fine there. They aged in place on purpose. You calling them and harassing them repeatedly is not cool.
No.
It's not okay. It's not a method that you should be bringing into your business. If you want to reach out to someone like this, and you don't know how old people are or what's their situation, just think about that too. When you contact strangers, cold call, door knock, you don't know anything about them.
Nothing.
You don't know if their spouse just passed away. You don't know if they're immune compromised. They were talking about in this article, agents were door knocking and going to these elderly people's houses during COVID with no masks on. And these elderly people are very vulnerable and scared. Y'all, do not behave like that. And if you opt to use one of these methods and someone says no, take the no.
Yeah.
Don't keep going for the yes. Just say, okay, thank you. Sorry about, your loss. For God's sakes, if they tell you that their spouse just passed away, have some empathy and some kindness.
Right.
I just was the article made me so angry.
Well, you never know what you're going into. You're thinking about yourself in the moment of a cold call. You're not thinking about who you might be calling or what their need is.
Right.
But I also think it's a lot easier to make that phone call to say, hey, I do have someone that's looking. I saw you try to sell your house and it meets our criteria. It's a real buyer. I was just seeing if you are still interested in selling because I would love to show your house.
Right. This is not a tactic.
No,
I know you've probably gotten I know you've probably gotten other calls. What I did read that I loved as a kind of twist on the calling expireds is if you're going to call expireds, find ones that are 3 to 12 months expired.
Oh, that's good.
Because everybody's doing the call the expired the day it goes off the market or is withdrawn, and quickly the sellers are like, God, agents are the worst people that ever lived, that ever walked the face of the earth.
Yes.
But if you want to farm or I guess prospect with expireds that are older, I think that's a great idea. Hey, I noticed you tried to sell your house 6 months ago. I do have buyers looking in your zip code. Just curious if you're still interested in selling. I'm sure you probably got a million agent calls. You know
what's the hardest part about this? Because like my first few years, I would
do this,
do something, try different things.
Try it.
I would search expireds, but I didn't realize that they may have sold.
Oh.
Like, yes, they expired at one time and then they renewed and now they're sold. So they are no longer expired.
Don't need to sell.
So you really have to get a list of expired, print it out, and then you have to search each address to make sure it's still, it wasn't relisted after that date.
Yeah, if you should do the research regardless. You need to know if they had offers, like if it went pending while it was listed, like what?
Yeah.
You can't literally cold call an expired. You need to have some data.
It takes some time.
It should take time if you want to do it right. But I liked that that spin on it. And again, that's not doing what everyone else is doing. So you do something different, you might actually get different results. Okay, you ready for the next one?
Sure.
I don't mind this one. I don't think this is harassment necessarily. They a lot of people for many years have done the looking for absentee owners.
Oh.
Okay, so you can look up tax records and find in a neighborhood, let's say this is kind of looped in with a geo farming. You're going to have to pick an area, right? You can look up the tax records and find owners who don't live in the house. Okay, so the tax bill gets sent somewhere else. Maybe then you look them up and find that they own 10 or 20 houses. Then you reach out with a different like script that's more, this is what I was reading, more like, hey, Mr. Owner, I see you have, a couple of properties in my location. Obviously, inventory's tight. Are you looking to maybe, move your money around, do a 1031 exchange? Is it time to buy another property? Are you looking to find something else you can depreciate at a faster rate? Whatever. Like you might need to have some good CPA talking points.
Yeah.
But it might just like kind of spark something in them like, oh, I never thought about selling that to get another one to, for the tax ramifications, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just are tired of dealing with it. Maybe they have a bad renter right then when you call them.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? I do want to sell that thing.
That sounds great.
I am done with this.
Perfect.
So that's a market you can tap into.
I heard that open houses right now are actually more for meeting sellers.
Okay. You know how you get them there.
Go for it.
You invite the neighborhood. I've
Yes,
heard of agents who
like events.
either like door knock the neighborhood and say, I'm doing an open house.
Yes.
Not door knock the neighborhood to say, I want to sell your house, but I'm doing an open house, blah, 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 or a flyer or a phone call or whatever.
Invitation in their mail.
Yeah. Find someone in the neighborhood that's on the HOA and get them to post it in their Facebook group. Those are all, and then you get the neighbors there, like make it and invite them.
Right.
Invite them.
If you want to take the time to really do it right, you could have some excellent results.
Yeah, no kidding. I guess you have to have a house on the market long enough to do an open house for that.
Yeah. I guess listing it on Friday.
Yeah.
And if you get offers saying all offers will be reviewed Sunday at 5 p.m.,
Yeah.
I'm seeing that a lot.
Then you could still do
Because
the open
then
house.
they're doing the open house and giving it the full weekend before responding.
Well, I think that's easier for everybody involved.
Well, yeah, then you could even like let people see it at least.
Right. Then they don't have to rush over there the first day. Okay. All right. We've talked about door knocking and cold calling. There's also direct mail. So just like the geo farming, if you want to mail an area. Okay. Oh, here's a good one.
Oh.
Expired rental listings.
Okay, I had this on my list.
Oh, great.
But not expired. Just
rental listings.
yes. Now, in our marketplace right now, a rental doesn't stay on the market long.
Yeah, it's just as tight really as
But if it's one that has been on the market a little while, they may not realize what it's worth. Maybe you could sell it if you called them and told them you had a buyer, if you do have a buyer. Or it could just be a good listing opportunity.
Yeah, I like that. And if you also, instead of searching current rentals, search anything that rented 8 to 10 months ago.
Because the lease is
The lease will be coming up. So, hey, I see that, you leased your property at blah, blah, blah. Is your tenant planning to stay? Are you thinking about keeping it as a rental, or would you be interested in selling? There are a lot of buyers in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're like, you know what? This tenant was terrible and I'm ready to sell.
Yeah.
Or maybe they want the money to move somewhere. Like, people's circumstances change. You can't just assume that because the member of your database didn't want to sell a year ago that they don't want to sell now.
Right.
At some point that changes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, also, if you're overwhelmed by reaching out to your database, start with the people who've been in their house 3 or more years when you're doing a, video CMA or just a plain CMA, or like you're reaching out to like just say hi. Start with, if you're doing this activity as a way to get listings, then start with the people who've been in their house
They're not going to move if they just bought.
not last year.
Yeah.
Although it happens. Okay. You have anything else?
Using social media during this time to update the public on the current state of the market.
Okay.
So that way, when you do get a new buyer, they aren't surprised.
They know.
I've actually had this happen just with the podcast. So it's funny, I just went on a listing appointment and it's a past client and he's selling his house now. And he said, it's funny because I just listened to the episode on how to buy and sell at the same time.
Oh, good. That's what it's for.
And it was so helpful.
Wonderful.
But I thought, we have the podcast, but anybody on social media, you can make little short videos or just updates or statistics as posts, kind of just updating them on what to expect.
Yeah, I think that's good. I had social media in mind for a couple of other reasons as well. Using social media to track your sphere and database and friends and followers as far as life changes.
Yep.
Did they have a baby? Did they get married? Did something bad happen? Did, what's going on in their life? Maybe that's a great one to start reaching out to as opposed to reaching out to your buyer from last year. Mm-hmm. Like what's going on in someone's life? And the other one was posting on your personal social media when you have a buyer with a buyer need. So that way you have people in your sphere that can see, oh, I see you have a buyer in my area. Well, maybe I do want to sell. Yeah.
You can also, with the Facebook ads, if you make an ad of like what you need or what you're looking for, if there's a specific area you want to list in, and you can pay by zip code so that the ad is going to that zip code. And maybe that's where your leads would come from.
Oh, on the social media?
Yes.
They get a little wonky with real estate ads.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's so hard to target an area.
It used to be easier.
I know. Y'all look into that. I don't know for sure, but sometimes it makes you do like a 25-mile radius.
Oh, wow.
That's a bit much.
Yeah, it's like the whole city.
I know. Okay, here is a great... This is the last one I have.
Okay.
This is a great secret.
What?
That I had never thought about before, and it is genius.
Tell me.
If you're looking for new listings, try an orphaned neighborhood.
Oh.
Do you want to know what an orphaned neighborhood is?
One that nobody wants anymore?
That's what I thought at first. I'm like, well, why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
That sounds stupid. I don't want to do that. No. An orphan neighborhood is one that is 3 to 5 years old that was track built.
Why is it called an orphan?
Because it used to have a sales office and someone on site and people were like selling the houses. But now all the houses are built and they're all sold. And that sales office is long gone. So guess what? Nobody's taking care of those people in that house. And you have to think about this too. A lot of times those buyers went straight to the model home and bought a house. They didn't even work with an agent. So they are legit orphaned, totally like completely orphaned. You could start geo-farming those on purpose because those people don't even have an agent. And my point on top of that is, and I don't remember the number, but over 70% of sellers work with the first agent that they meet with or talk to.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to put yourself out there often and first, and that I just thought that was genius.
That is a good idea.
It's genius. Because also a lot of times those track built homes are starter homes. They're smaller, and so those buyers at 3 to 5 years are probably ready to sell.
Right.
And they might be nervous about getting in the market because they don't have an agent to ask for advice, and they're seeing that it's so competitive, and they don't know what their house is worth.
Another thing, too, that I've been struggling with a little bit because it's a low inventory seller's market.
I like your air quotes. It's definitely a seller's market.
What if the house is just not a great house or not in a great location? And the sellers are like, well, I should be getting a lot more because it's a seller's market. And I'm just having to say, but according to the data,
right,
your subdivision is still priced within this range.
Right.
I understand that you want X amount.
Yeah.
But I think the highest that we will be able to list is X amount. And we will just have to see how the market responds. But you need to be prepared that if this is too high, we may have to come down. And that's why I like in the email template that we send to sellers once their house is listed, it says every house responds differently.
Yes.
You can't say seller's market in every single neighborhood for every single house.
No.
It still depends.
It is house to house, neighborhood to neighborhood, and you have to put that message out to your buyers and your sellers.
Yes.
We can't just assume blanketly. It would be as if you watched a national news report and assume that applied to every house that you saw.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But sellers don't think that way.
No.
And
They
buyers don't think that way.
Why in this market and all that they're reading and all that their friends have said,
Right.
like I should be getting a lot more.
Right.
Based off of what though?
Right. Anything else for the sellers?
That was pretty much it.
Okay. Well, that was great.
I know, just good information.
Sometimes you just need a little spark, like an idea.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that you have got to be communicating with your buyers and your sellers about what is going on. If you're not communicating,
yes,
they do not know. It will lead to frustration and it will lead to them to go to another agent.
Right. Oh, and please keep in mind, we've talked about this before, but what you put out publicly on social media can impact your actual business. Like if you keep telling buyers that there's nothing to buy, then nobody's going to buy. And 60% of those people are sellers. And now there's nothing to sell because you scared them away from being a buyer. Well, don't scare away the sellers from being a buyer because then they don't sell their house.
I feel like my strategy right now that I've noticed myself, my pattern I've been seeing is that I'm having the hard conversations with my buyer about how hard the market is, multiple offers, and then kind of reminding them, but that does not mean it's impossible.
Well, that's just exactly what I told my people. You can see the house.
Yes. And if it doesn't work out, it was just not meant to be.
Right. In
my 11 years of doing this, I have never seen it not truly work out. It always ends up, if you're a serious buyer, well, we were actually talking about this the other day with somebody, but right now, you can't just be casually looking. You're either looking and you're in it or you're not.
Yeah.
Because that's just what the market demands.
Can't sit on the fence.
No. You have to be, if you're really serious about buying a house, that's where you have to be.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Great advice.
How's our toast looking?
Looks great. Are you ready to toast?
Yeah.
Okay, super. This toast comes to us from Samantha Greer in Orange County, California.
Fun.
Samantha says, I would love to send in a toast. Okay, yes. I would like to toast my coworkers, Jordan and Cheryl, at Finely Crafted Realty. When I first went out on my own, I planned to work by myself. I can't even imagine working by myself now that I have experience working with Jordan and Cheryl. I am just so impressed by them every day and genuinely enjoy being around them and doing this crazy real estate life together.
It is nice having a friend.
So nice. So cheers to Jordan and Cheryl, and thank you to Samantha.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Get out there and drum us up some listings.
Yeah, go get them.
Help us with the you solve the problem. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Your little bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast. Let us know who we should toast to for the next episode.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hustle Humbly Podcast. If you have an episode, topic, or question, please email us at hustlehumblypodcast@gmail.com.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. See you next week. Bye.
This is the good life.
Do I look good?
There you go. Much better. Can get the exposure to hit right.
Your face.
I was like, much better.
I was kidding.
All right, ready to go.
Okay. Murphy, you're crazy, man. We're recording and there's a light. I see the lights here. I like that everyone has started to toast two people.
What do you mean?
They just, they have two friends they want to toast, not just one. Why toast one when you could toast two?
Yeah.
You know.
Guess the other friend would be like,
why not me? Well, we definitely don't want anyone to have that happen.